Good morning, MegaPodlings. It's Crazy Joe. Hey, guess what? I recently did a Mill Creek unboxing. I did an unboxing of Mill Creek movies that are going to be released in January. Well, guess what? It's January. And I think it's time we talk about these movies. Now, as you see this, some of these movies have already been released because I believe this video is going to drop on Wednesday. So some of these movies, when you see this video, they came out yesterday. Most of them. All right, look, I unboxed a bunch of movies, and there's two that I have not yet watched. So you will not be seeing reviews yet for Your Highness. We'll get back to this one. I haven't watched that yet. Or Like Father, Like Son. Like Father, Like Son, I watched this back in the 80s when it first came out. Haven't seen it in years, so I do need to watch it again, kind of see if it holds up. So we will be talking about Like Father, Like Son, just not yet. And we won't be talking about Your Highness yet. By the way, Like Father, Like Son came out yesterday, the 12th, January 12th, 2021. You were able to get this in stores. This will be coming out January 19th. All right, but let's talk about the movies I did watch. And here they are. Here they are. Movie reviews for Mill Creek titles. And we've got Accepted. Again, this is a January 19th title. So next week you'll be able to pick this up in stores. Accepted, January 19th, 2021. And these three titles are all from yesterday. These are all January 12th, 2021s. We've got Blind Fury, starring Rutger Hauer. Crossroads, starring Ralph Macchio. And The Freshman, starring Marlon Brando and Matthew Broderick. Let's start off with Accepted. Accepted is a movie I remember when this came out. I remember it being in theaters. I didn't see it. These were, by the way, these were all first-time watches for me. I've never seen any of these movies before. Accepted, I remember it being in theaters. I never got out to see it. I remember the critics hated this movie. I used to be a regular viewer of Ebert and Roper, and I remember Richard Roper and Roger Ebert were not fans of this film. And, you know, that's fine. I don't always agree with them. So I wanted to go see it, but I didn't want to go see it enough that I didn't actually go see it. There was a lot going on in my life at that time. So this wasn't something, it's not that I didn't want to see it, it's just that I never got around to it. And I got to tell you, having watched it, I don't think it's great. It's entertaining. It's entertaining. I had a few big laughs in here. There were a couple big laughs, but basically I think this movie was a victim of unbelievability. It lacked a certain amount of verisimilitude. You know, it wasn't believable. Okay, now when I say it wasn't believable, you might say, "But Joe, it's just a comedy." Okay, there's different kinds of comedies. You can show me a comedy like, what's something more like Ghostbusters. Okay, you can show me a fantasy, and that's a fantasy movie. You could show me something like Mannequin. You know, a mannequin comes to life. It's a fantasy movie. Okay, so it's a comedy, but there's a fantasy element. So when something outlandish happens, it's all right because it's set firmly in this fantasy world. This isn't one of those kind of comedy movies. This is a comedy movie that supposedly takes place in a world that follows the same laws of physics as our own. So the plot of this movie is that Justin Long, he's a pretty smart guy, but he's kind of a slacker, and he, you know, was more interested running scams like selling fake IDs than studying. So he ends high school. He's not the best student. He doesn't get accepted into a college, and his very, very strict father, that does not sit well with the father. Father's like, you got to go to college. But what's he going to do? He wasn't accepted anywhere. So he comes up with a scam that he's going to trick his father into thinking he was accepted into a fake university. The only thing is, they needed a website so the father could go and check out the website. And Jonah Hill is in charge of setting up the website, and he does too good of a job. the website is too functional, and a lot of other students who they're not in on the gag, they don't know it's a fake university, they all apply and the website accepts them. So suddenly all these students start showing up at his fake college thinking it's a real college. Now, here is the problem. They find an abandoned old psych ward and decide this is going to be our university. And within a couple of days, these guys get this place spotless and repainted and redesigned, and so it'll pass for a college campus. They do this themselves. They don't hire a crew of construction workers. They just kind of like, we're going to fix this place up. And the thought that these 4 kids could turn this college campus, turn this old, ramshackle psych ward into something that resembles a university by themselves without help, without anybody noticing in just a few days, just seems to defy the laws of physics. Now, you might be thinking that I'm overthinking this, and maybe I am. But here's the thing. If the movie was funnier, that would be easily overlooked. If this movie was just a little bit funnier, I might be able to excuse these lapses in logic and say, okay, it's kind of dopey, but it's really funny. And the thing is, while the movie does have some laughs, it doesn't have enough laughs to get me over the hill. So I cannot really recommend Accepted. I didn't love this movie, but it does have some good laughs, and if you can take it with a much bigger grain of salt than I could, you might be a bigger fan of this film than I was. So there you go, Accepted, coming out January 19th. I was not a huge fan, but I certainly didn't hate it. It's got its laughs. It's entertaining enough. All right, next movie we've got on the list is The Freshman, starring Marlon Brando and Matthew Broderick. This is another movie I had never seen until now. And I remember when it came out in 1990, this was kind of a big deal because you had Marlon Brando parodying his own role as Vito Corleone in The Godfather. Thing is, I don't know that I saw The Godfather in 1990. Maybe I did, but I was pretty young, and that was an R-rated film, so I don't know that I did. So this was a movie I was aware of, but I never got to see it. And I'll tell you, I like this one. I enjoyed this. This is very, very funny. You've got Matthew Broderick, who's a college student who gets a job working for a guy who we're not quite sure if he's in a mob boss. He certainly appears to be. And they reference the fact that he looks like the Godfather. And he gets a job for $1,000 a week transporting things back and forth from New Jersey. He doesn't know what he's going to be transporting, and it turns out it is Komodo dragons. He's taking Komodo dragons back and forth, and he doesn't know too much about Komodo dragons. Comes to find out they are an endangered species, and he does find out what he's doing is illegal, which creates all kinds of questions. And what we get is a pretty good comedy caper where we find out exactly what Marlon Brando's up to, transporting these Komodo dragons back and forth. What's his game? We find out what the scheme is here. And it is pretty funny. And if you've seen The Godfather, he does a parody of his own character from The Godfather, and it's very enjoyable. I liked this movie. I liked this quite a bit. This is probably, of all the movies that I watched from the new batch of Mill Creek films, this is probably the best of the bunch, and I definitely would recommend picking up The Freshman. This is a really good movie. Next on the list is Crossroads. Now, this movie, when I did my unboxing, this was not there. Mill Creek sent this to me a couple days later in a separate box. So when you saw me do the unboxing here on the air, Crossroads was not one I pulled out of the box because it came several days later. Ralph Macchio plays a Juilliard music student who wants to be a blues man, and he finds out that there is this legendary blues artist living in a nursing home. And he goes to him. He wants help finding a missing song that a legendary blues person named Robert Johnson? I believe Robert Johnson was the name. There was this legendary blues artist named Robert Johnson who he never recorded one of his songs. And this guy was an associate of his. And he goes to him and says, hey, do you know what that missing song was? And he's like, yeah, get me out of here. Get me out of this nursing home, and I'll help you, and you could record the song. Well, what we find out, and we actually see it in flashbacks, but these guys sold their soul to the devil years earlier at a crossroads down south. And they need to go back down to this crossroads, and it becomes a thing to get this old blues artist whose name is Blind Dog. They're trying to get him kind of out of his deal with the devil. Now, the devil is played by Joe Morton. You might know Joe Morton from the TV show Eureka. He plays Joe on Eureka. He played Cyborg's father in the Justice League movie. He's one of those character actors. He's been around for years. You've probably seen him in a million things. And he was on Smallville. He starred in a movie in the 80s called The Brother from Another Planet. He plays the devil. He's the devil who these guys sign a contract with. And the Robert Johnson, the old blues artist who they're looking for his missing song, he's played in a flashback by none other than Tim Russ from Star Trek Voyager. Star Trek Voyager's Tuvok, looking quite young, plays that guy in a flashback. I kind of enjoyed this. I didn't love it. I don't think this is a great movie, but it's very it's watchable. And what I mean by it's watchable is it moves along at a brisk pace. You're never bored, and the supernatural element, the element of the devil and the selling of the soul, definitely gives it a little bit of flavor. I think without that, this might be a rather lackluster film, but that element definitely helps the film out. This movie's directed by Walter Hill, by the way. Walter Hill is the director of one of my all-time favorite movies. I'm looking around. I don't have it here anymore. I used to have an autographed photo sitting here on the bar, and it's not here anymore. Walter Hill directed The Warriors, 1979's The Warriors, one of my favorite movies, and I had an autographed picture signed by several of the Warriors, but I seem to have moved it. It's around here somewhere. So yeah, there you go, Crossroads. I would give this one a mild recommendation. I didn't love it, but it's worth watching. Last one, another one I'd never seen before. This is a 1989 film starring Rutger Hauer, Blind Fury. Rutger Hauer plays a Vietnam vet who was blinded in the war, and he ended up becoming a martial arts master, and he's a blind martial arts master. And in this movie, he ends up trying to help the son of an old war buddy of his, played by Terry O'Quinn from Lost. He plays the war buddy, not the son. And, this was very entertaining. This was quite entertaining. I enjoyed this quite a bit. I think of all the movies here, The Freshman was probably the best, but Blind Fury is probably the second best. So I am giving big high fives to The Freshman and Blind Fury. These films get a high five for me. Big recommendations for these two. And for Crossroads, we're going to have a little bit more of a lackluster high five. I'm recommending this, but not quite as highly. This is not as good as these two. These two are much better. Blind Fury and The Freshman are much better. Then Crossroads is pretty good. And Accepted, I'm frankly a little bit, this one kind of left me cold. So there you go. Those are my reviews for these latest Mill Creek titles. And we still have to do reviews for these two. That's coming soon. So I want to thank Mill Creek for sending these to me. If you are interested in any of these movies, you can pick up these three in stores now. This one will be coming in a week. And please, be sure and support Mill Creek Entertainment. They do a great job when it comes to physical media. And as we know, physical media it's struggling. It's struggling against digital media. And the best way to keep physical media on store shelves is by buying it. Speak with your wallet if it's something you love, if it's something you want. As Rose Tico said in the movie The Last Jedi, we don't win by fighting what we hate. We win by protecting what we love. And if this is what you love, then protect it. Go out and buy it. So there you go. And until next week, everybody, or until the next video, whenever that is, keep wearing those pajamas.
Keep wearing those pajamas with the plastic feet. Keep wearing those pajamas. Tell everyone you meet. Keep wearing those pajamas with the back door flap. Keep wearing those pajamas. Don't open, it's a trap. Oh no, it's a trap. Some people call them PJs, some people call them jammies. They can come embroidered with big money and no whammies. They can have 100 tiny commander adamas, but no matter how they look, just keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep wearing those pajamas. And now we're having fun. Keep wearing those pajamas. And now the song is done.